The Subcommittee on Tax Policy will hold the second in a series of hearings to focus on fundamental tax reform. At the last hearing, we concentrated on member proposals that would reform the U.S. tax system by moving away from an income tax-based system to a cash flow or consumption as the basis for taxation. This afternoon, we'll look at tax reform proposals within the context of an income tax system. And we're honored to have two of our esteemed colleagues here today to testify about bills they have developed to reform our current income tax system, reforms that fundamentally change our complex, unfair, and outdated tax code to make it more conducive to economic growth. These are important ideas, and our colleagues will have invested time and energy to develop and put them forward. I appreciate the seriousness of their commitment to advancing a pro-growth tax system for the 21st century. We're also fortunate to have a second panel with Tom Barthold, Chief of Staff of the Joint Committee on Taxation. Mr. Barthold will help us explore key considerations in broad-based tax reform. He will use our former chairman's tax reform plan, Dave Camp's plan, as an illustration of the kinds of choices that must be made in fundamental income tax reform. I know that discussion will be very beneficial to the subcommittee. Our hearing today is particularly timely given that the deadline for individuals to file their tax returns is fast approaching. This year is a bit unusual because of the calendar. Tax day is officially April 18th, which gives taxpayers a few more days to complete their annual tax filing obligation. But even that extra weekend is cold comfort when faced with all the forms, schedules, worksheets, and special rules that make up our broken tax code. Tax reform should minimize the burden on American taxpayers, so the billions of hours and tens of billions of dollars they spend on tax compliance today can be freed up and dedicated to creating a growing, vibrant economy. As I said at our first hearing last month on this, our efforts on tax reform require that we take a fresh look and consider all ideas and proposals, including those being presented today. Ultimately, the Ways and Means Committee must weave the most pro-growth concepts and ideas into a bold plan that fundamentally and comprehensively reforms our tax system. This hearing continues that effort, and the subcommittee will continue to solicit and evaluate all ideas as we will build consensus for a path forward. Thank you again to each of our witnesses for taking time from your busy schedules to be with us today, and we look forward to hearing about your bold proposals. And now I will yield to the distinguished ranking member, Mr. Neal, for the purposes of an opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to again acknowledge your efforts in calling this hearing today on income tax reform proposals. It's the second hearing that we've had in a month, and I do not believe, as you know, and we've discussed privately as well as professionally, that we're really any closer to reforming our broken and inefficient tax code. Time is of the essence, Mr. Chairman. The American people are imploring us to act. We need to replace our current code with one that promotes job growth, lifts wages for all workers, and grows the middle class. The Panama Papers have highlighted the urgent need to crack down on those who engage in exotic tax schemes nationally and internationally in order to evade paying their fair share. If the recent wave of inversions were not enough to spur this committee to action, perhaps the Panama Papers will. Mr. Chairman, at the very least, I hope that we can use this subcommittee to hold hearings on these recent revelations. Reforming our tax code remains of the utmost importance. I look forward to hearing from our witnesses today as they offer their ideas and plans on how to create jobs, promote economic growth, and address those that knowingly and willfully engage in tax avoidance and tax evasion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I thank the gentleman. We have a distinguished panel today. We'll start with two of our fellow members of the House of Representatives. And first, we have the Honorable Bob Goodlatte, representing the 6th District of Virginia. He will be testifying about H.R. 27, the Tax Code Termination Act, which would terminate the Internal Revenue Code by the end of 2019, with any new federal tax system adhering to a set of principles that promote simplicity and fairness. And next, we'll hear from the Honorable Roger Williams, representing the 25th District of Texas. He will be testifying about a suite of bills that represent the Jumpstart America Act, which would consolidate individual tax rates, lower the corporate tax rate, and encourage business investment through immediate expensing.